Hey, it's Christmas time, and we're ready to start our new series here for our OSC website. You know, when I think about Christmas, it's hard not to consider the cast of characters that we've come to know and be used to and associate with the Christmas story. Obviously, we think of the baby Jesus first, and he is the most important aspect of the holiday. And then we think of Mary, his mother, and Joseph. We bring in those shepherd boys out of the field and angels in the sky. We even consider the Magi traveling from the east to come visit the baby Jesus and to bring him gifts. But this year I was wondering if there weren't some people that were left out of the story. Some people that were critical, but maybe, just maybe, we've forgotten about it. So for the next couple weeks, we're going to consider some of these forgotten Christmas story characters and how the way they contributed still can impact us today and how we can learn from it. Hopefully that sounds great to you. Let's start with the first one. The first characters that I feel like have been forgotten, but absolutely played a crucial role in the Christmas story and the development of it, are the parents of Mary and Joseph. You know, when we get to that major scene, we have shepherds and we have animals surrounding the manger, and we have Jesus and we have Mary and Joseph. But I gotta tell you right now, I've never seen a baby born when there was not grandmom and granddad absolutely involved, critical and part of the process. And so it seems weird that they've sort of taken a back seat. As a matter of fact, the only thing we know about them is listed in the names of the genealogy of Jesus. We know that probably Joseph's dad's name was Jacob and Mary's dad's name was Heli. That's all we know, just a couple of names. That's all that the Bible gives us. But let me suggest that there's a little bit more. You know, when we're introduced to Mary in the scripture, the angel Gabriel comes and reveals to her that she is going to be with child, that she's going to deliver the Messiah. And when that happens, Mary's response is fantastic. She more than likely was 14 or 15 years old. She knew the risk of what it would mean to be an unwed pregnant mother in Israel at the time. And yet her response to the angel was, "Let everything that God said happen to me." How do you get a young girl like that? How do you get a teenager that wants the things of God? Let me suggest that it has to begin with the mom and the dad who raised her. See, they had to bring her up to respect and to respond to what God called her to. There had to be the proper kind of development in her life that caused her to be the young woman that could give birth to Jesus. The same with Joseph. Joseph is put in a crazy circumstance. His wife-to-be comes and says to him, "Look, I'm pregnant, but I did not sleep with anybody." I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't buy that story. And Joseph at first didn't as well, but even when he did not believe it, the Bible records that he was a good man. And so he was going to quietly divorce Mary so as not to shame her. That's unbelievable. It took a dream of angels to cause him to really recognize that what Mary was saying was the truth. And then despite what was obviously going to be some gossip and some bad talking and some slander about him and his new wife, he married her anyway. What kind of man is that? I tell you what, it was probably a man raised in a good home, with a dad and a mom who taught him good morals, who taught him to be a good man, who taught him to be gentle and kind, the kind of husband and the kind of father that Jesus and Mary were going to need. Man, the grandparents are important, and they're important because they left a legacy. They left a legacy of Mary and Joseph, who then were able to raise Jesus in the way that they needed to. You know, a couple years ago, I was watching a sitcom when my son was little, and it was something I probably shouldn't have been watching. And by probably not watching, I mean definitely I shouldn't have been watching it. And so it had some salty language in it. And after my son, who I thought was too small to pick up on any of this, sat there for a while with me while I'm laughing and watching the show, my wife comes in, and my son looks at her and with complete innocence on his face says to her, "Where the hell have you been?" And my wife turns and she gives me that look that every woman possesses that says, "You are in big trouble, fix this." And so I turn the TV off and I recognize I ought not watch that show anymore, especially in front of my son, because I don't want him, it's bad enough he said it to his mom, I don't want him repeating that kind of language at 2 years old to anybody else. Why? Because they would think I was a bad parent. Now, that's sort of a funny story. It's kind of goofy, a silly illustration, but and the truth is there wasn't much harm done other than I may have slept on the couch that night. The reality, though, is the actions that we take, the choices that we make, pass down directly to our kids. They are absolutely affected by what we do. We leave a legacy every moment of every day of our lives. We pass it down to our kids, and while we may not become famous, we may not reach these lofty goals, we may be a forgotten chapter in the story. What we choose to do, how we pass that down, impacts their lives and may one day change the world. You know, I'd love to see Jesus be alive in people's lives, and I hope that I get to be the conduit through which that happens. But you know what would be really cool? It would be cool if my kids, because of how I raised them and what I put into them and the way I invested in their lives, it would be even more amazing to me if many people were impacted, if the world was changed because of my little girl, my little boy. I want to leave a legacy. You know, maybe at this Christmas, maybe you think you haven't done much. Maybe when you consider your life, you look at it and you think, I don't know what I've accomplished. Maybe there's no big write-up. Maybe there was no big miracle. Maybe you never saw lives changed. But if you're a grandmama or a granddad, if you're a mom or a dad, let me promise you, the opportunity to leave a legacy, the opportunity to change the world, absolutely lies in how you impact those children. Now, there's a quote from one of my favorite movies, Gladiator, that says, "What we choose to do in life echoes through eternity." How you impact your children and your children's children absolutely echoes through the history of this world and forward into eternity as lives can be impacted for God. This Christmas, give the gift of legacy. Spend some time with your kids. Do some extra special things. Remind them about what the holiday is truly about, what it surrounds. Talk to them about Jesus. Show them Jesus in your actions. Be loving and generous and giving. Help develop them into the people that will leave a legacy for you. You won't forget it, even if sometimes you feel like you're forgotten. Just like the parents of Mary and Joseph. They taught us a good lesson today, and I hope you take it to heart. We're going to continue this series next week. I hope that you've been blessed by it. I hope you thought it was awesome. I'm digging it. It's Christmas time. Hey, go out and be merry. Enjoy yourself. Celebrate. Be a legacy. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.